So a few days ago, a new alpha released on Hypixel Skyblock with some pretty interesting changes, seeing the Crimson Owls change a lot, armor being buffed massively, and also a lot of changes to the garden. Now today is indeed update day, but not quite in the same way as people were hoping for. With the prospect of everything obtainable in the Crimson Owls being unsoulbound, lots of people were hoping to cash in on a fortune. But considering those items are hovered over still said corpse soulbound, well, let's see what's actually changed. Hello, welcome to Hypixel Skyblock patch 0.20.8. Today's update includes a general update to pests, some garden balancing, and a chocolate factory update that lets you take breaks from property without any downtime. And to be honest, there aren't too many changes from what was discussed previously when they first released this update on the alpha just a few days ago. For instance, we have new biohazard armor, which is a direct upgrade from the mushroom armor, giving very similar stats but just better. We've got new equipment pieces, the ability to even capture pests when you're not even online. Pest traps and mouse traps will catch a pest every 15 minutes, so long as they're filled with bait. We've got a new pest, and that is the field mouse. Changes to wheat with the abolishment of the tightly tied hay bales. Balancing to pest drops, and a ton of other garden changes. If you do want to read through any of this in more detail, then I will be linking the forum post and the changelog in the description so you can take a look for yourself. Rabbit Hitman. The Rabbit Hitman is now available to all players right at Chocolate Factory 1 and will collect eggs for you if you weren't around to grab them yourself during Hoppity Hunt. The Rabbit Hitman has 28 slots for eggs, which can be purchased for coins. Seems pretty cool. There's also now new Rabbit Hotspots, and of course other changes to the Chocolate Factory as you'd probably expect. And, well, a ton of bug fixes. It seems like in every Skyblock update nowadays there are a ton of bug fixes, which is, for the most part, really quite good. Update on Crimson Isles changes. The changes related to Crimson Isles have been cut from today's release as they are not quite ready to go, but you can be rest assured they're not going anywhere. We're targeting to have the changes back on the Alpha network, along with Alpha/design thread posts regarding the changes. We apologise for the disappointment and inconvenience, and are looking forward to hearing your feedback. Now, I personally was really looking forward to the Crimson Isle changes because there was so much change. I think there was so much good, and honestly, it would just make for something a little bit different. But it looks like we're going to have to wait. But before we go any further, at the moment we're actually trying to beat the population of Andorra with subscribers. Now, the population of Andorra is around about 80,000. When we hit 80,000 subscribers, we're actually going to be visiting Andorra and we'll be able to claim they have more subscribers than the population of the whole country, so make sure to subscribe to make that happen. If you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS. It gets yourself 5% off. You should join the Discord server. It's linked in the description of this video. We're for slayers and dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry, make some coins, make sure to join. Now, before we even begin to talk about the Crimson Isle changes and the fact that they're not coming out yet, I think we should probably just take a look at maybe some of the main points from what has actually been released today, because, you know, this is not a bad update by any means. It's just a little bit disappointing that we're kind of missing out on what I was personally most excited for with this update. Now, the biohazard armor is really good. The way that you obtain this armor is by having mushroom armor and then upgrading it with pests from Philip, which is actually quite cool. I wish they would do this with other items. For instance, take the Juju shortbow. The Terminator is obviously a direct upgrade from the Juju shortbow, however, the Terminator doesn't use the Juju shortbow to craft the Terminator. Now, this is obviously a direct upgrade from mushroom armor, and in turn it requires you to have mushroom armor to be able to craft biohazard armor, and the fact that it's pests is really cool. It means that you can't just simply go ahead and buy the materials, you've actually got to upgrade it through playing the game. And if we do go ahead and head over to Philip, you can see that these items are now purchasable, which is really cool. We've also got a new pet, which is the hedgehog pet, which is going to be really good for, well, pests in general. And of course you can purchase the pest and mouse traps from here too. Okay, now we can view our Rabbit Hitman here too, which is also pretty cool. Now we can upgrade all of these with coins. We might as well go for the first upgrade and maybe the second and probably the third and, I don't know, maybe the fourth and possibly the fifth. But of course they get exponentially more expensive the more slots that you actually go ahead and unlock. Now, of course, there were on the alpha some pretty major changes to Crimson Armor and other Crimson Isle armor sets. For instance, Crimson Armor's swipe became, well, much better. It meant you gain ferocity and also more general damage, which was really cool. Now, Crimson Armor's swipe also worked with the Terminator, which it didn't used to, which is really cool, and it was really OP when I tested it out. Now, whether that was an intended feature or not, I'm not 100% sure, so I don't know whether that's actually going to be included in the eventual update or not. But regardless, you know, Crimson Armor has been buffed massively, and if they go ahead with the changes that they intend to actually release. As I'm sure a lot of you know, all Crimson items were also set to become unsoulbound. So for instance, all these items here are currently corpse soulbound, including your nether stars that you get from killing vanquishers, including heavy pearls that you get from the matriarch, also including Kudra teeth that you get from completing Kudra runs and opening chests. On top of that, Kismet feathers will also be able to be used on Kudra chests, which is such a W, such a good, just in my idea, is something that potentially should have been something since Kudra was actually released. Big W's all around. But evidently, like it said in the thread, the update probably just wasn't quite ready, therefore it's not released. Well, at least that part of the update anyway. Now, I know this is quite a major disappointment for a lot of people, considering people who are pretty prominent in the Crimson Isles and, you know, have a lot of experience there and have a lot of playtime there, of course have accumulated a ton of these items that you obtain just from the Crimson Isles. And it always has seemed a little bit strange to me, the fact that all of these items are soulbound, or corpse soulbound. I understand it to an extent, because maybe they want to make those items that you craft, you know, more exclusive, but then again, you can just buy those items that you actually use the corpse soulbound craftable materials straight from the AH, so it's always seemed a bit strange. But of course, people have been stockpiling those since they've realised that they're going to become basically unsoulbound, be able to be sold on the bazaar, and of course, when those items first release on the bazaar, they're going to be really expensive. Now, if you've ever played Tier 5 Kudra, you'll know that you end up with a ton of attribute shards that in theory are worth a lot of money, but you just can't sell them because they're corpse soulbound. You see, if you have a Tier 1, 2 or 3 attribute shard, which you can obtain from Tier 1 to 4 of Kudra, then you can simply sell these attribute shards on the auction house. However, if you do Tier 5 Kudra and then obtain Tier 4 attribute shards, these items are all corpse soulbound. You can't sell them on the AH, can't sell them on the bazaar, can't sell them anywhere. So what this means is if you actually want to get the coins for these items, you basically have to apply them onto an item and then sell the item. Either that or somebody will give you their item, you can then apply the attribute shard to that item, and they can pay you for the attribute shard because you've applied it, you'll give them the item back. Now, honestly, this to me has always seemed completely just strange as to why Tier 1, 2 and 3 of attribute shards can be sold on the AH, yet Tier 4s are corpse soulbound. It seems silly. Sure, you'd make sure that those people who are doing Tier 5 Kudra get rewarded in the way they should. I mean, they can still sell, there's still ways around it, you can still apply the attribute shards. However, it's a massive faff and it's just a pain that shouldn't really be, you know, even a thing. But the idea is that all of those attribute shards now become uncorpse soulbound. Now, of course, the update hasn't dropped and this hasn't happened yet. So I know a lot of people who have done a lot of Tier 5 Kudra have a ton of these attribute shards sitting around that are worth a lot of money, but they couldn't be bothered to actually go ahead and apply and sell. Well, they're waiting for this update to drop, of course, to sell them, and they're probably a little bit disappointed that this part of the update hasn't even dropped. Like, all in all, it isn't a bad update. It's just a little bit disappointing in the fact that the thing that a lot of people were probably waiting for just hasn't released. Anyway, let me know what you think of this update in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.